Hello there everyone, Ashnflash here and welcome on into my spoiler review for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And we're going to go through like we normally do, talk non-spoilers, then spoilers, and then at the end we will touch on how LEGO did with their singular set so far and what I'd like to see them do hopefully in the future. So let's go ahead and let's talk about non-spoilers. Honestly, I think I've said this before in some other reviews. I've just been sort of let down, burnt out by Marvel recently. I just have not been enjoying the movies as much or the shows as much as I would like to be. And specifically with this, I rewatched the original Ant-Man movie and I love that movie so much. And I just really was just so nostalgic for that. And I was like, what a time. Like, it was just so incredible. I looked at like some of the details as like he like hits metal, like it leaves scratches from the helmet and all these little small details that with all the lack of CGI that we've been getting recently for shows, I compared to that back in 2015. I'm like, the care that went into that film was just wow, incredible. The second one, I was like, it was fine. I don't dislike it. I don't really like it. If you watched a trailer, you knew the whole movie. But then this, honestly, like, again, from being sort of let down recently and genuinely hating parts of movies from the last few films, this was a lot of fun. I'm not saying it's the best movie. I'm not saying it's even that great. I just had fun, and it was nice to have that feeling again. Do I necessarily want to rewatch it anytime soon? Maybe when it comes on Disney Plus again. I'd give it another watch, put it on in the background. I feel like it was just fun to see some of these characters. And yeah, there's a few cringy moments, but like that's sort of expected, especially in some of the more comedy-esque, funny characters, that those jokes just don't land for me. And we'll get into it. They did not land for my theater. So anyways, overall though, fun. I think that as well, it just really set up the future for the MCU, which is not something I feel like we've been getting recently. Like, we just don't really know like where the story's going. And now this, to me, it's a great start to phase 5 that way. Anyways, let's go ahead and let's jump into things. So I want to talk about MODOK. Really loved MODOK. I think that the human face, there were some shots that were pretty bad, but then other moments, like especially when he was dying, I was like, wow, they did a really good job. And when he turned sometimes too, it didn't look like it was just a PNG of his like face slapped onto it. Like, it looked quite good from different angles, and I think they should have maybe framed it more like that, because head on it looked, pun intended, looked really bad. But from a certain angle, I was like, he looks great. But the introduction of him was amazing. His yelling as well was so MODOK, like just him losing it. Oh, I loved it. It was so good. And then they absolutely ruined it by just one of the most unfunny parts of the whole film. The dick comments, like, it just wasn't funny. That whole exchange with Cassie wasn't funny. And then for his ending to be, I am not a dick. Like, ha 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 ha. So funny. Funny reference from a minute ago. Ha 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 ha. He said dick. So funny. Not a single person in my theater laughed at either of those jokes. It was pretty full. It's not funny. But again, his introduction, his powers, like all the stuff coming out of the chair, I thought the actual like mask looked creepy, really fun. I liked how he was a lackey to Kang. I really enjoyed that. I wish there was a better build up to him actually sort of standing up against Kang. Instead, it was whatever that was that we got, and I feel like that just undid this incredible villain that they introduced. Amazing that they were able to bring that in from the first Ant-Man film, like him shrinking down and then just being this giant freaky head. I think is such a cool concept that was Darren. Also, I that was a funny bit, I think, that every time someone saw them, they were just like, Darren? And it's just like such a weird name to be calling this floating head. And people laughed when they saw his face too, because, you know, they don't know who MODOK is. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. I love MODOK. He was a part of a name that I made for myself online before I was Ashnflash. It was Mo Doctor Doom. I took MODOK and Doctor Doom, put them together. And again, love MODOK. To see him here and doing all that. Love the fight with the jet and everything, and even how he was chasing Cassie. All of that was just worth it for me for this film. And then Kang was even great as well. I know that the ending, how he was just sort of defeated by a bunch of ants, was a bit, I don't know, not necessarily the greatest resolution, I think, to the film. But I really enjoyed the moments with Michelle Pfeiffer. Looked a lot younger, I feel like, here than in the second film. Anyways, she was great. I really love that, and just how they sort of filled in those gaps. And unlike them going back to 2015 and pulling an idea forward into this, we actually did see a city in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I think that's really cool that they were sort of plotting out certain things here in the to come, and there was a lot of secrecy built up, I feel like, in that film already. Just sort of like, oh, she has powers and just she's got these weird quantum things. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Bill Murray was a lot of fun as well. You know, I enjoyed him sort of trying to get under Hank's skin with their relationship. I thought was fun. I would have liked to see more flashbacks of how she was actually revolting against Kang. Would have been fun. But yeah, that whole flashback with Kang, how we've been hinting at his sort of backstory here as well. We'll talk more about Kang when we talk about the end credits. But I enjoyed like his powers, the look I thought was great. His performance I thought was very good as well. I touched on Hank there. Again, I really enjoyed his sort of, not necessarily his arc, but I feel like he actually did something in this film. For me, one of the only things that I could be like, I want to see this in the MCU that's not announced right now, is an Ant-Man prequel series. I loved the 2015 film, like I said before, and some of my favorite parts about that is just like him not fighting like this time traveling god. Like, I just love just the punching and the size, the smallness. The smallness, is that a word? Of just fighting people with guns and all that. A spy thriller, fighting Hydra and things like that would be so cool with the young Michael Douglas. I love the de-aging back then. And I even look at what they're doing with Indiana Jones right now. I'm like, please give us a Disney Plus series. Hey, future Ashnflash here. I'm adding this in because I found this when working on the video. There's a deleted scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp with de-aged Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer for their mission, and there's even a scene with Egghead and all these things that I just didn't know existed. All these images only. I don't know why there's no actual deleted scene for this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what I want in a show. We could even get Peggy Carter back. Oh my goodness, Howard Stark. Be so awesome. That's my one thing that I want from the MCU, and I feel like it was so cool to see him here leading the ants and just how he's progressed. And his relationship even with Scott, I think, was really fun as well. Like, just that moment at the start when he was just admiring him, like as a paternal figure in his life, I thought was really fun. How he's looking up to him, not just as Ant-Man, but even just like as a father, I thought was great. The whole intro, I really loved where they are at in life. I like the fact that Scott is like writing a book. I like how Hope is sort of trying to rebuild Pimtech and all that. I thought was a lot of fun. The whole start, Baskin Robbins, everything there. I really enjoyed that. I wish that we did see a few other characters from the last film pop up, like criminal friends. We saw Wu, so that was kind of interesting. I really loved Cassie as well. She was a really fun inclusion. This older version of her I thought was really great. I loved the suit that she had. The purple looked awesome, and just her sort of being Scott's moral compass in their relationship. And it was sad to see the different bits about how he wasn't around. Also really love when trailers take lines of dialogue and they're talking about someone else. Never even crossed my mind when Kang's talking about, like, I can give you time with your daughter or whatever. All those lines that he said was talking about Janet, not about Scott. Love when they do that. I want to talk about the world. It reminded me so much of Star Wars, and just this incredible world that they built here that was sort of Star Wars-esque, but also reminded me a bit of like Dune and Mad Max in some ways. And having watched Dune, I was so boring, and it wasn't visually that interesting, I don't think. This, to me, I know some shots with some of the creatures, CGI wasn't the greatest, but I enjoyed the world that they built here. I thought that's quite remarkable. Like, there was a lot of really cool concepts and cool creatures and different things here I really enjoyed. The village bit and the whole sort of standing up to Kang, there was some really cool visuals, and the one joke that I really appreciated was the one about are those buildings alive? And he goes, your buildings are dead? I thought that was a really clever joke, but didn't care for the amount of like holes comments. It wasn't funny. I just don't really want to get to know these expendable people. It reminded me of like Thor and the gang, and I'm just a little tired of Korg right now, so maybe it's because of those vibes that they were giving off, but I just think that you could have trimmed that down a bit. We didn't necessarily need to see or even get to know those people at all. It just could have been random people that needed help, and you could have cut out a lot of that and just starting a revolution. I didn't need to see most of those scenes with those people, but the actual heist of it, because every film has had a heist, I guess, in a way, I thought was really cool. I loved all the different variants and all that, like visually, I thought was really cool. I liked the concept of them all working together. Thought that was a lot of fun. And then all the wasps, like as they were flying, looked so great as well in 3D. First film that I've seen in 3D for a long time. I think since probably before COVID. So really fun movie, I think, with that. I like the idea that he couldn't shrink it down, although he did have Darren Cross there, so he could have probably had him make the knockoff Pym particle to shrink it back down, but maybe he doesn't know how to make it into a disc or whatever. I don't know. Again, the ending was a bit weak just with how they resolve things. I enjoyed him fighting him, but it just doesn't really make sense. Like, Kang should have wiped the floor with, I would hope, everyone. Like, to me, I look at that, I'm like, if Ant-Man, love him, love the movies, love the character, but if Ant-Man, Wasp, and a bunch of ants can take him out, then how's he killing Thors? How's he killing other Avengers? Like, just, I don't know how much of a threat he's going to pose, but we'll have to wait and see. And speaking of threats, mid-credit scene, I thought that was really great. I enjoyed seeing like the different versions of him, especially the Egyptian one there, and just that whole arena of Kangs, and that I saw on Twitter was ripped straight from the comics, like down to how this different Kangs are like turning to the camera and the different creatures. Incredible. I love when they do that. And then the end credit scene, I've said this before in other reviews. Think of your least favorite end credit scene. Maybe you think that it was just like pointless ones like the Captain America one. I stand by the absolute worst ones that you can put at the end of a film or TV series is either trailers for an upcoming film or just a clip that you're gonna show us in the movie or show. That Loki bit, cool to see Mobius there and Loki there and whatever version of Kang that is. And I guess that's maybe what season 2 is going to be about, is other Kang variants throughout time. But I just don't care. Like, I don't need to see a clip from a show that we're going to see in a few months' time. It's just pointless. It's a waste of a spot. I would have much rather them explore like any connections to Ms. Marvel or any connections to Shang-Chi. Feel like we didn't get any answers there. Anyways, let's jump into Lego talk. I really hate the fact that when he grew big and he appeared and Hope was sitting on his shoulder, I'm like, darn it, that Lego set's actually pretty good. It really did completely flip me around because it was literally that set right there. And I don't like the buildable characters. I just wish that it was more of a minifigure version of it. I think that would have been really cool. Again, I still stand by the Civil War Giant Man being so much better. But again, we were robbed. Like, I look at these incredible costumes and I just am like, where are the minifigures for these? We're still waiting on an actual proper Ant-Man using that helmet. That helmet is perfect for Wasp and we still have never gotten it. Like, the fact that there's no Ant-Man or Wasp minifigure in a set right now, comic book or MCU based, it's really unacceptable on Lego's part. My friend Brody, True Score, he created this really great concept for a set. It would just be so perfect to get a set like this, just with the time chair and all that, with the rings would be so cool. A little holding cell there for Cassie as well, but MODOK, like, it fits so perfectly, and it's in line with the other Ant-Man sets we've gotten before, these small little builds with 3 figures. Maybe Cassie wouldn't be there. I horribly missed opportunity. Hopefully that is fixed in the future. There's a couple of other things. Maybe you could get the ship, but I don't necessarily want that. I think that this was just really great. I do have an idea for another set, which hopefully you'll see soon. But anyways, everyone, I would love to hear your thoughts on the film. Did you enjoy it? I really don't think it's the worst. I really don't think it's as bad as the critics said. I think that it was a lot of fun. Again, better than some of the other stuff they've been putting out recently. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you all have a great day. We'll see you all in the next one.